I had all kinds of videos I was going to do recently, but deleted most of them because I didn't like the energy I had in them. I had to kick out my best friend from my house recently, about a month ago, and I wasn't great. So I think I'm gonna try to do these videos again, and maybe not be so freaking depressing. Hopefully, there's one time while my social shell was trying to learn how to do Sky. This is like pre YouTube days, honestly, or at least at the point where the only people who were making Sky videos were people who were, like remixing Epica or Nine Inch Nails music to like clips of their DPS doing, oh, look, we managed to do 900 damage to Genbu in a weapon skill. Like, that was a big deal back then. But there weren't like guides for it because anyone who knew how to do it, there was a lot of gatekeeping of knowledge back then. And like, when it came to Kieran, basically, like, try explaining how to fight Kieran to about 20 people who have never seen the Kieran fight or know anything about it. I didn't like normally when I took our link shell around doing things, I don't have a problem explaining to people like, this is, we're gonna, trigger it with this thing, when it pops, everyone needs to be standing in these positions. This is what to watch out for. This is what you need to do. You know, I managed to explain dynamics in 7 whole minutes one time. I thought that was pretty concise considering this is people who'd never done it before. But the Kieran fight, no, dude, you need a guide for that fight. If you're going in blind, we're not going to waste the triggers that took us like 4 months to farm because we were just a little social shell, not an end game shell. It was just like, hey, you guys want to camp Ulukumi? Maybe 4 people would ever say yes to that. I was always one of them. I wanted the mithril ore so I could make mithril ingots. But it took us, a quarter of a year to get the Kieran triggers. I wasn't going to let them go to waste. And it's, God, this is such a weird, complex story. I went on a little mini vacation with my mom. She worked at the time for the San Bernardino Police Department, and she had to go to this training thing near San Diego. And it's like, hey, there's just the amount of money funded for this thing is enough for 2 people, but I'm the only one you're sending. Can I bring someone else because you've already approved the expenditure for it? And they were just like, well, who do you want to bring? I was like, can my son come? And they were like, yeah, sure, we don't care. So I got to go on a free vacation to San Diego, which in a really fancy, nice hotel. It's going to be a long story. Strap in for this bullshit. When we get to the hotel, I try to hook up my PS2 because I'm playing Final Fantasy 11, and it's like, oh, this is one of those hotel TVs where if you hook up a video game system to it, you can actually screw up the entire television network throughout the entire hotel. Want to know how I learned that? I plugged something into it, and that TV made alien noises. I unplugged it real quick, and I was like, oh, what the hell happened? So, I just gotten out of the military fairly recently at this point. I still believe in honesty and integrity. So, I went down to the front desk, and I'm just like, hey, I kind of plugged PS2 into one of your TVs. I think I screwed something up. And they were like, yeah, we reset it already, but yeah, you can't plug a PS2 into our TVs. And the hotel manager comes over. This, like, I can't say this without sounding racist. This chocolate Kenyan black man in an equally black suit who just had an air of dignified sharpness and regality to him. Um, he comes on over and he's like, "What were you trying to play on your PS2?" I was like, "Oh, I was trying to play Final Fantasy 11." He says, "Oh, is that the online one? I wish I had time for that one. I haven't really played a Final Fantasy since 7, actually." And I was just like, "Oh, dude, I love Final Fantasy 7. Like, next to 4, that's my favorite one." And then I'm sitting here talking. I didn't really realize at the time, you know, talking to the hotel manager and in front of all his people, there's no one else in the lobby, so he feels free to just, we're just gushing about video games for like a good 15 minutes. And my mom, she comes out of her like conference thing. It's time for a lunch break. And she's like, "Oh, hey, what you doing down here?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I screwed up the hotel's like television systems, and I came down to apologize for it." And this guy's like, "Hey, you know what? Tell you what." So the guys down at the Days Inn down the way, they owe me a favor. I'm gonna see if I can get you a TV from them that you can hook a video game system up to. And I was like, "Oh, sweet, but I can't really play anything online though, right?" And he's like, "You can't get the Ethernet thing to." Nah, it's just like, nah. It's like, all right, cool. Well, at least I brought some games. I can at least watch some DVDs, right? Um, and in the midst of all this is when I decided to buy Kingdom Hearts 2 because it had just come out around that time. And I'm like, I'm gonna get some DVDs. What do they got in this Best Buy? Oh, hey, they got X-Files Season 1 on sale for $20 for Season 1. That's a good price. All right, let me pick that up. I get back to the hotel room, and my mom takes a nap. I watched like the first 6 episodes of the X-Files, and I'm like, this show is lit, bro. My mom wakes up, we go to dinner, we go out to P.F. Chang's. It's windy out here. And when we're on the way into the P.F. Chang's, I remember this one dude, this homeless dude with a bike, got a sign out, just not asking for money, he's asking for food specifically, because it's rich hotty toddy area, you know, with the Chinese people come in and they steal all the money from the, I'm not going to get into that, but that's what happens around here. And I'm like, yo, we're on a government dollar right now. They're giving us $100 per meal, and if we don't spend it, then it basically just disappears because it's a stupid system. So you might as well spend it. We ordered like $80 worth of food at P.F. Chang's, and I brought that homeboy over just like, you know, a box full of, you know, shrimp, a box full of chicken, a box full of fried rice in a bag, and just like, I could tell this dude was hella thankful, and he was explaining to me, you know, he was like the runner for a camp of a couple other homeless people, that he's just the one who goes out and gets food and brings back to the other people because, you know, they basically can't leave their tents. It's too difficult for them. I was like, hell yeah, I just used the government's wasted money to feed the homeless people. Suck it. I was happy about that one, honestly. We get back to the hotel, and I'm just like, man, you know, everyone wants to get ready for that Kieran fight. I'm going to write up a guide on our forums. Anwin, the white mage in my Thief Static Party, he made us a dope, awesome forum for our link shell. I spent about 5 hours one morning, you know, going into, you know, MS Paint, making crappy drawings and stuff, you know, showing like, here's where all the red, white, black mages and bards need to be standing, you know, like, this is the point where the ninja needs to be standing to make sure that you get the earth debuff on, so that the bard can actually land elegy on it, so that the kiting tank's not going to die instantly. You gotta land slow on Kieran. He hits like a truck. And, you know, making sure we had at least 2 red mages subbing dark for chain spelling Suzaku with stun. And, you know, at the end of all that, Nunuo, the white mage in our link shell, he hits me up in a PM, and you know, he sees my post, and he's like, hey, like, where are you at right now? I'm like, oh, I'm chilling over at this hotel in San Diego, blah blah blah, by the freeway. And he's like, oh, that one over by this and da da da's across the way. And I'm like, yeah, that one. He's like, that's actually like 10 minutes from my dorms at the university that I'm studying at. And I'm like, no crap. Well, you got like a spare computer or another laptop I can log into with? Because we usually do Limbus around this time, and I cannot log onto the internet with my PS2 in the hotel that I'm in. And he's like, yeah, I got a laptop. I already has 11 installed in it, and everything's updated. You can just log into your account with it. Because this is before Square Enix insisted that you have, a PlayStation license and a PC license and all that noise. So you could just, I played on PS2, but you could just log in on a PC back then. Oh, the days of convenience. Freaking, it didn't really dawn on me at the time. The whole time I'm like, Nuno, he comes and picks me up, go to the dorm, and I'm like, heck yeah, I'm not gonna miss Limbus because I'm like the only paladin who can come and show up right now. And it would just be a disappointment to the other 9 people if I couldn't go. And then it dawns on me that I play on PS2. I don't know how to play this game on freaking PC. So like an hour before we're all gonna meet for Limbus, Nuno and I go into the Kuftal tunnel to just fight lizards and crabs and everything, and I have to make macros and everything to make sure everything can work. And it's my gosh, there was so much anxiety, and I warned everyone, like, hey, just so you know, I am playing on a PC, and I do not play on PC. It sucked. It was awful. My provokes and my flashes were so slow. The only thing that I was good at was timing my heals, and I don't even know how I did considering the lag I had on that university internet connection. But man, that was a freaking trip and a half, honestly. But I remember when we finally got back, everyone was just like, okay, has everyone read the Kieran guide? And everyone's like, yeah, everyone understand what to do? Yes. Okay, cool. And it was pretty dope that our silly little social shell, it took us a quarter of a year to finally fight freaking Kieran. And thankfully we got that Kieran's Osode. It went to McPolish, who only stuck around for like another 6 months because he it's just the game was out of content for him. And so when he quit, he gave the Kieran's Osode to Riston, and then when Riston quit, he gave it to me, and then I carried it for the next like 6+ years after that. I don't know how long I had it, but it's still on my account somewhere, even though it's not worth that much anymore. Anyway, that was just a fun ass trip. That was the first time I actually ever got drunk in public. Let's step off the game for a minute. I'm just going to talk about myself for a minute because I kind of lost a bit of myself. I had to kick my friend out. I didn't just kick him out. The thing is, he tried to attack my wife, so I kind of almost killed him. I don't like that level of violence in my body. I think really it's taken me this long to get it out. There's a helicopter. Bye helicopter that's legally, not flying as high as it should be over a residential area. Whatever. Over here complaining about the carbon emissions that is dropping over here while I'm lighting this up. Whatever, right? Like, it was Mother's Day when we were at this hotel. And it's just me and my mom down in the bar area. I was I forgot how old I was. I think I was probably like 22 or something. But I didn't like, oh, I'm legally allowed to drink. I'm gonna destroy my brain cells because it's legal now. I didn't really do that. I did during this trip though. My mom orders some bullshit. I forget what it was. Has some pomegranate juice on top. I ordered a Tokyo iced tea. I downed that thing in like 2 minutes, and I was like, I ain't even drunk yet. My mom was gone after maybe drinking about this much of her drink, because the bartender put some Bacardi 151 right on top of it when she was done, and she didn't stir or nothing. And my mom was just drinking that straight out the top. So then I downed her tequila sunrise or whatever the hell it was, and I was pretty lit. The bartender, seeing my mom and I by ourselves, having a good time, goes into the hotel kitchen because no one else is there. She comes back about 15 minutes later with this long rectangular white plate and the most beautiful slice of New York cheesecake that to this day I have still ever had. Was just some random hotel by a freeway. And she dolled it up with just like the most beautiful, freshest, most heavy perfumed raspberries, strawberries, 2 maraschino cherries, a raspberry compote that it was seated on, and then a strawberry drizzle was zigzagging on top of it. And then, of all things, she actually put a tiny little gold leaf right on top of it, just to be like, Happy Mother's Day. You know, here's a piece of gold on your dessert for you for free. And it's just like, this place is dope. This hotel freaking rules, dude. My mom and I are so hammered drunk. We go into the elevator after we eat our cheesecake, and we're up on, I believe, the 7th floor. And as soon as that elevator kicks up and starts going up, my mom and I fall. We're like holding arms. I'm trying to keep her balanced. She's kind of an older lady, and we both just fall straight on our asses, and we're just laughing the whole time. And then when the elevator kind of like stops, we just fall completely on our backs. The door opens, and there's this like 70-year-old Asian lady with her purse just standing there. My mom and I are just drunk on the floor of this hotel elevator, and she just stands there like completely paralyzed, no expression on her face at all, as the doors slowly close and the elevator just sits there with nothing happening. Until eventually someone called it back down to the 5th floor. We're like, all right, look, we gotta stand up. We gotta stand up. Okay, go back to the 7th floor. And when we got back up there, that lady was not there. We get into our room, and we're like, yo, let's just watch some X-Files. We good. We good. We finished season 1. And then the next day, it's like, oh, man, I want to watch more X-Files. Let's go back to the Best Buy and see if we can find... I think they had like seasons 2 and 3 there. See if we can snag those. And while I'm there, I'm like, I'm going to check out the anime section. Why not? Sometimes you find some good cheap box sets of anime at Best Buy. That's how I got Martian Successor and Nadesco for like $30. Like, it's probably one of the best purchases of my life. But I'm there, and I see they have one copy left of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. I pick that up. We go back to the hotel. And then, as we're coming back up, we're driving around the back because my mom and I are smoking a cigarette, and we want to just go park in the back, not bother people, you know. And while we're in back, there's the hotel manager, Stacy, with his head of security. It was like some 65-year-old dude who looks like he's been in a war or two. And we roll up, and I'm like, hey, Stacy, check it out. I got this for you with the Best Buy. He opens it up, and in front of his head of security, there's like this elderly, hunched-over gentleman with a gun, by the way. This dude looks at it, and he just starts like jumping up and down like a 6-year-old kid, screaming at his chief of head of security. He's just standing there looking at him like this, dead eye the whole time. As this dude is like jumping around, like, dude, this is the movie for like my favorite video game of all time. This is amazing. And you know, he tells me like the next day, he's like, dude, I went home, I watched it like 3 times. I woke up the next morning, I watched it 2 more times while I was making breakfast for my wife for her birthday. I woke up at like 4 in the morning so I could watch it multiple times. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, dang, dude, you woke up and you made breakfast for your wife for her birthday, and then you came to manage a hotel for the rest of the day? That's pretty dedicated. But on top of all of that, you woke up at 4 in the morning so you could watch Final Fantasy VII Advent Children multiple times in the process of making that breakfast for your wife. Like, it was just a really interesting hotel experience all around, honestly. It was one of the more interesting times of my life. Plus, you know, I basically got to eat like $50 worth of luxury cuisine every single night on government money. That was also pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie about that. Oh, this was fun and not depressing as shit for a change. I'll probably actually upload this one.